Miles Eldon, and I'm going to be showing my class at Latitude 37.8 how to design a wheel for their self-driving car project in Fusion 360. Today we're going to be focused on how to design kind of a wagon wheel shape because it's a pretty simple one to design. So with any design in Fusion 360, we're going to start with a sketch. So we're going to create a new sketch, and we can pick any plane we want. So I'm going to pick this one. Once we have our sketch plane, we need to create the general shape of our wheel, which is a circle. So I'm going to go to Sketch, Circle, Center Diameter Circle, and I'm just going to click right down here at our origin, which you can see highlighted in this little blue box. And I'm going to make this 5 centimeters in diameter. Now I have the general outline as a sketch of my wheel. And a wagon wheel actually has kind of this thin outer rim, so I'm going to make that now by creating another circle. Another center diameter circle, also starting at the origin. And I'm going to make this one 4.5 centimeters in diameter. So I get this kind of rim around the outside, and that's going to be kind of the outer part of our wheel. Now that I have this general shape, I'm going to hit Stop Sketch. And I can see what I've sketched. And I want to make this outer rim a three-dimensional object. So I'm going to go to Modify, Press Pull. And I'm going to click this outer rim, and I'm going to make this 5 millimeters tall. And now you see I've got this nice 3D outline of the outer part of my wheel, which is great. And now that I have this and I like it so much, I'm actually going to say File, Save. And I'm going to name this my wheel design. And I'm going to put in parentheses my name, which you should put your name here. And I'm going to save this to make sure I don't lose anything. Now that I've got it saved and I've got this outer rim for my shape, for my wheel, I need to create the inner part where it's attached to the motor. And this can be any shape we want, but I'm going to use a circle. So we're going to go Sketch, Create Sketch. And on the same plane we drew the other circles on, we're going to sketch another circle, a center diameter circle. And we're going to go to the origin, so it's dead center. And we're going to make this 12 millimeters in diameter. That's going to be the center. And now that I have that sketched out, I'll hit Stop Sketch again. I'll come and look at it from this angle. I'll modify Press Pull to make it 3D. And it'll be 5 millimeters tall. And if I come back over here, and I can see kind of the center of my wheel and the outer part of my wheel. And now I need to connect them. And so the way I'm going to do that is I'm going to go back to Sketch. I'm going to create another sketch on the same plane that we've been on. But this time I want to make the spokes. And so if you know anything about a wagon wheel, it has several spokes going from the center to the outside. And the way I'm going to create these is I'm going to sketch a rectangle, and I'm going to use the Center Rectangle command. And this allows me to make sure that my rectangle is perfectly centered. So I'm going to come in here, I'm going to line up with the center, this little blue box. I'm going to come out to the outside, and you see I get this little blue X when I've lined up with the edge of the circle. So once I get that, I'm just going to click somewhere. Maybe right here. And I'm actually going to come in and I'm going to make this 1 millimeter wide. And actually, that'll be great. So yeah, I'm going to make that, well, so I worry that when I have this bigger, so if I make this like 5 millimeters wide, I have this little gap right here. Right here, that is something that would be missed. So I'm actually going to delete this rectangle, and I can double click on it until it's all highlighted. Whoops. And hit delete. And delete that. And delete that. And what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to sketch a rectangle, a center rectangle. And I'm going to go from here, and I'm going to go all the way to the outer rectangle to make sure I don't miss any of that little gap. And I'll click right there. And then to make sure that this is the size of rectangle I want, I'm going to click on this and I'm going to dimension it. And I'm going to make this 1 millimeter wide. And now, you can see I've got this nice kind of crossbar, or as we say in a wagon wheel, a spoke, to kind of hold the outer part in place. And now I'm going to make about 4 more of these. So I'm going to go back to sketch. I'm going to go back to rectangle. I'm going to go back to center rectangle. I'm going to select the center, and I'm actually going to go up and do a vertical one. And then I'm going to zoom in and make this 1 millimeter in diameter. Okay, and now it's a little bit harder to do the diagonal ones because of the way Fusion 360 does rectangle commands. So I'm actually just going to rotate one of my existing ones. So I'm going to double click on this so it highlights all blue, and then I'll control click, say move copy, and then I can just rotate this 45 degrees. And that is all perfectly aligned over there. And then I will double click on this one and move copy, and then I can grab this bar and rotate that one 45 degrees. And now I see that I've got the two cross ones perfectly aligned. And so I'm just going to go and repeat what I did earlier, where I create a center rectangle from here up to here, dimension it to be 1 millimeter wide, and one more rectangle, center rectangle from here all the way over to there. And I'm going to go sketch dimension, and make that 1 millimeter wide. Great, so now I've got all these spokes for my wagon wheel. So I'm going to hit stop sketch. And I'm going to look at my hard work from the side. And there's still two-dimensional, so I'm going to go into modify, press pull, and I'm going to make them all three-dimensional. So that one, that one, that one. And you can also do these one at a time if you're having difficulty selecting multiple at once. And I'm going to make these all stand up 5 millimeters. And that actually took a chunk out of my center point, so that's not the best. So I'm going to undo that. And I'm going to come back to modify, press pull. And I'm going to come in here. I'm going to come back to this and say edit sketch. And I'm going to say, I'm going to draw a new circle at the center. And I'll make it the same size, so it's 12 millimeters. And now I'll stop sketch. And what that's allowing me to do is if I come over and look at it like this, if I come in and modify and press pull, now because that circle is in there, it's stopping at the edge of the circle. So now I won't take the chunk out of the circle. And I can select all of these and make them 5 millimeters tall. And if I come out here, this is actually starting to look a little bit like a wheel. Looking pretty good. So I'm going to save it again. I can just hit this save button. And it's just asking me if I want to give a version description, which I don't, so I'll just hit OK. And now I have my basic wheel shape. So the last thing I need to do to make this at all functional is actually give a hole to attach to the motor. So I'm going to go back to sketch. I'm going to create one more sketch. I'm going to do it on the same plane. I'm going to sketch another rectangle, a center rectangle at the center. And this is going to be 4 millimeters. Well, I'll just create it first. So we're going to do that one. And then I'm going to go into sketch dimension. And this one is going to be 4 millimeters by 6 millimeters. And I'm going to hit stop sketch. And then I need to make it a hole, so I'm going to do modify, press pull. I'm going to click on that, and I'm going to make it 5 millimeters, so it goes all the way through. And I'm done. So I could print this as is, and that would be totally fine. But I'm going to do a few things that'll make it just a little bit nicer for me, because I take pride in my work. So I'm going to try to make this look a little bit more like a wheel. And one of the things we can do to help that happen is we can use this fillet command, which if you look at this image, kind of just curves the edges. So I'm going to click on the fillet command, and I'm going to click on this outer edge, and you see it highlights the whole circle. And I'm going to fillet this by 1 millimeter, maybe even 2 millimeters. No, that's too much. I'm going to go back to 1 millimeter. And then I'm going to do the same thing with the bottom, so modify fillet down here, 1 millimeter. And that gives it this kind of nice like curve so that it looks like an actual wheel, which is great. And now I'm going to look at my center hole again. And so it turns out that the attachment for the motor is actually a little bit curved, so I'm going to fillet those angles too. So I'm going to go back to the fillet command, and this right angle in here, this bar, I'm going to click that, and I'm going to fillet that by 1 millimeter. And if you come back up here, you can see that now that one's curved, and the other two are still right angles. And I'm just going to fillet the other ones. And if I come back up here, I've got the nice curved hole for my attachment to the motor. Looks like an actual wheel. So I'm digging this, and I'm going to save it. And I'm going to call it good to go, and this can be one of my wheels.